Hello and welcome to Down and Dirty with Darci. I'm your host, Darci Smith, also known as Career Coach Darci. We are here to get down and dirty about careers, uncovering salaries, wild stories, backgrounds, and more from guests with some of the most eccentric professions each week. This podcast is presented by Onomy. Welcome back to the Down and Dirty podcast with Darci and Raimee. Hey Raimee,
Woo!
how are you?
Hello. I'm so excited for this new little intro.
Yeah, I love chatting with you before. Did you do anything fun this past weekend?
Oh my gosh, I had a crazy weekend actually. My friend was in town from Fiji, like the literal island of Fiji, and she'd never been to LA before, so I was kind of being her tour guide and showing her all around the city, but it was like torrential downpour almost the entire time. So I was like, I'm so sorry. This is how you're seeing LA when it never rains, but we had fun. How was your weekend?
It was good. Today was the first day I saw sun in so long, which thank God. It's been
Same.
crazy up here. It's nuts. But yeah, I honestly just had a really devastating weekend because the Vikings lost and I'm a Vikings fan.
I saw that. I felt
So
sad for you. You were like, don't talk to me.
I literally was like, nobody speak to me. And of course, like I put it out there that I'm a fan, so everyone's talking shit and I'm like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And like we had such
Yeah.
a good season. It was terrible. But yeah, I'm like kind of going back and forth because not that apparently this is a sports podcast. The Cowboys and
The
the
sports corner.
sports. I'm laughing because I feel like you probably have no idea, but Cowboys play the 49ers and I'm like debating on going because it's so close to me. But
Oh, wait, I do actually know things about the 49ers. Are you a 49ers fan or a Cowboys fan?
I would root for the 49ers just because I live here. But yeah.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah,
What do you
I
know?
agree.
Like anything
I just know
exciting?
that they're a team. That's it. I just have heard of them before.
Oh my God, I'm dying. That is so funny. Okay, I had a question prepared for you, and I feel like this is really going to throw you off, but I can't wait
Oh
to hear your
man.
answer. If
Okay.
you, okay, as Raimee with zero weapons, what animal do you think you could fight off? Like not like a dog or a cat, but like a wild animal. Like what do you think you
Oh.
could actually physically take on?
Where did you find this question? Okay, weirdly, I was thinking about this recently only because I saw a TikTok of a guy who like encountered a mountain lion in Los Angeles and was like, fighting it off, and I thought to myself I would be dead because
Yeah,
there's no way. So I know
yeah.
I could not fight off. I think I'd be able to, I mean, I don't know if this would attack me, but like maybe a deer or
Oh,
something, but wouldn't want to do that. I love deers. Maybe like a bird. I don't
yeah.
know. Anything else,
Birds.
I would be screwed.
I know. We have this it's like a thing we do in my friend group, but it's like a question of like, okay, what animal could you take on? But then like the biggest one. So like bear, mountain
Mm.
lion, wolf, right? And so I think I could get pretty scrappy, but I would
I,
need
you know
something like a
what?
knife or something.
Yeah, we could both. I was just gonna throw it back to a previous episode. I could take on a cocaine bear because I feel like actually maybe not, but like I would just wait for it to get that, I would just wait for it to pass out. So that
I'm
one I could take on.
Yeah, speaking of previous episodes, I cannot wait for that movie and I'm gonna
Same.
I actually want to see like how they try to fight it because I think it's gonna be hilarious.
Yeah, I do not know because I know in real life no one actually fought it off, but in the
Yeah.
movie shit gets crazy and I cannot wait to see that.
Yeah, same. Okay, so I also had looked up something related to careers because I thought it was super interesting. So, and I want to see your take on this. So, according to the uschamber.com, this is a Google search. These are
USC.
the 9 most common reasons people quit their jobs. So,
Ooh.
number 1 is low pay. 2, no opportunities to advance, feeling disrespected, childcare issues, which was like a top one, lack of flexibility, poor benefits, company culture, feeling burnt out, and then bad relationships with management. I feel like these are all pretty spot
Ooh.
on. What do
Hmm.
you think? Like what would be like your biggest reason for quitting a job, do you think?
Ooh. So I actually, both of the jobs that I've had before my current job, I quit and they were both for different reasons, both of which were on that list. But I think for me, the biggest thing is the lack of growth opportunity. And so
Mhm.
that's why I left one of my previous jobs. It was like there was literally nowhere I could go. And so at a certain point, I think it was like that feeling of, okay, I've learned everything I needed to learn here. Great time, but I got to go. The
Yeah.
second time was purely like a culture toxic place, and I was not wanting to be a part of it. I gave it a year and it didn't get better. And the way that I quit that job is something we'll have to talk about maybe on another podcast, because it's just, I had to get out of there so bad and I didn't know how. So I did not handle it well. I told them a lie to get out of it. But, you know, both of those are really important reasons to leave, though. Like you have to
Yeah.
be in a place that you feel you fit in and that isn't toxic, and a place where you can grow and make more money and learn new skills. So
Yeah, I
that's my
feel like
thought.
when you just like don't know until you know, like people always ask me,
Hmm.
how do I make sure I don't get in like a toxic culture environment? And I tell them like there's questions you can ask. You can ask them about their culture and things like that. But of course, in the interview, they're always gonna like say the
They're going to
best
hype
thing
it up.
possible. Yeah.
Hmm.
So you only know once you get into it. But as a recruiter, like what I do is I'll ask the management how they describe their culture. And then I have to press them on questions because they don't really, they always say, like, oh, it's great. Like, we
Right.
really, like, we have a great time together. Like, we have a great culture. And I'm like, okay, but what does culture mean to you? Like, is it
Hmm.
you go into office and you have an open floor plan and there's no doors where you close, in the office, or everyone goes to happy hour after? Because some people like that and some people don't. So I'm like,
Right.
I know like your current job with Onomy, like obviously I love them, like they're a part of this podcast, but how would you describe the culture at Onomy? Like if you had to like tell
Ooh.
someone.
Ooh, also what you just said about like knowing if the culture is a fit or not, I have like a point on that, and then I'll get back to our culture specifically. But when I was getting hired for this toxic job, during the interview process, I didn't, of course they were saying, "Oh, it's great, like you'll love it," and I just remember though feeling off for some reason. It almost felt like they were convincing me. It felt weird, and I didn't listen to my intuition in that. I just, I wanted to believe the best. I was like, I'm just going to try it out and whatever. And I do remember like when I was interviewing with Onomy, at first I wasn't even sure that I like fully wanted the job. I thought the company sounded really cool. And I just know that after I had like a couple conversations with both of the founders, I like didn't have that sinking weird feeling at all. I felt like we vibed as friends right away, even though like maybe that's not a good thing. I don't know, but for me it is, because I want to feel like I can be myself. I can talk and have
Right.
candid conversations. And I feel like the conversation just, I don't know, it didn't give me any red flags, which is why I think our culture is a way better fit for me. I feel like we're all pretty like open about what needs to happen. We don't like hold things back anymore. We're like a very tight knit team, and we just like, I don't know, but we're also not the type of team that's gonna like hit you up at 12 a.m. on a weekend, or,
Yeah.
overdo that. Like, we're family. Like, oh my God, no, I would run. So,
I know. I hate it. Used to be so common to like the family thing. And I'm like, guys, if you
hmm,
see the words we're like a family or the work hard, play hard, like
run.
run as far as you can. Because like it
Yeah.
should be a job. It should be something you do.
Hmm.
And of course you want to have that purpose behind it. But then it's like you should also have that separation of like, I actually have my own family or my own
Yes,
friends, like my own personal
exactly.
life. And I don't need that to cross unless I want it to. And that's when
Hmm.
you can say, okay, I can attend this happy hour, but I've spoken to people, especially that send me messages and are like, I don't like feeling like I have to go to these happy hours or I'm missing out on something.
Or you're missing out, or you're not part of the group. It's like so high
Yeah.
school, and it's like,
Hmm.
ew, I don't want to feel that way in work.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't feel that way at all, which is why I love this company. But
I
those are
know. I
those
wish
are
they were
such important
hiring
things.
more. I'm
Yeah,
like, can you guys just like
eventually.
keep hiring?
I know, we once they do, we'll have to put little like, "Hey guys, apply." Like we'll
Oh,
tell the
yeah.
podcast listeners, because I say that from a true place. So
Yeah.
one day
Well,
we will be.
speaking of company culture, I am so excited about the guest that's coming up because all she does on TikTok,
Yes.
Instagram, she like really hits home with the company culture piece. She has like the best funniest like jokes and memes and stuff. I love watching her
So
stories.
relatable.
Yeah, love watching her stories. Jenna Hushka, like she's amazing. So she's coming on the podcast right after our chat. But you guys know each other through TikTok, right? Like you guys have like done dinner and stuff now just from meeting over TikTok, right?
Yeah, I saw
That's so
her
cool.
corporate humor TikToks, I don't know, like maybe 2 years ago now. And even though I wasn't in corporate America, I have been. And so I like followed her. I thought she was hilarious. And, after following her, I found out she lived in LA. And it's one of those things where I was like, well, gotta just shoot my shit. I slid in the DMs. I was like, we should grab
I
dinner.
love
And
that.
yeah, now we're friends. And she's awesome.
Yeah.
And she was so fun. Your
Oh
guys'
my gosh.
conversation was great.
Yeah, and we actually talk about like corporate horror stories that people sent me and I get her take on them. It's so good. So I can't wait to get into this interview.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
I'm so excited to get into the interview, but first we have the career column. Last week we went over horror stories, but this week I am answering your career questions that you sent me in my DMs. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'll give you a few to work with. Let's do it. On this week's career column, we are going to answer your questions that you were sending in to my DMs. So here we go. Do you have any tips on how job hopping looks on a resume? Do I ever? Okay, the thing about job hopping is when someone's looking directly at your resume, they first, like, we read it in a Z formation. So we look at exactly what your title is and then how long you were there. So ideally, all the hiring managers I've worked with, they really like to see at least 2 to 3 years in a position. But what I will say is no job is worth your mental health. So if you are unhappy and the only thing you're worried about is your resume, please don't let that be the factor. Get out of there and get a new job, because at the end of the day, even though it may look like it's your job hopping, it's okay. You're going to find a new job. You're going to be okay, but it's not worth the mental health. So don't let that be a deterrent. But I also want to say that things have changed. I will say about 10 years ago, like people want to see 10 years at a company. They want to see that loyalty. Nowadays, we want to see that you have a lot of different skills and strengths. And there's so much technology out there that companies are using at different places. So if you've worked at different places, you can spin that into a positive. Hey, I've been able to learn so many new tools and softwares because I've worked at those places. Okay, next one is, how do I smoothly resolve conflict with a boss or coworker at work? All right, this comes up in an interview. So this is something that is really important just in general. The best thing that you can do is pull that person aside separately. Don't get anyone else involved and just make sure you can speak to them one-on-one and say, hey, like this has happened, or this is how I feel about this. But always come with a solution. Don't just bring it up to bring it up. Make sure you have a solution that you can say that could possibly help your work situation. Hey, I noticed that we might have some conflict here. Like, here's what I think we should do about it. And bring that solution to the table. And that's going to make for a much smoother conversation. And whoever sent me this, I hope that you feel the confidence here to be able to step into that conversation and really talk to them about how you're feeling. Okay, how do I explain freelance jobs on my resume? Because right now it's looking like I have 10 jobs, but really they were all just freelance opportunities so I could get experience. This is such a great question. And when I review people's resumes and rewrite them, we actually have to go over this because we don't want it looking like you have 10 different jobs all W-2'd. We want them to show like they are freelance or like contracted work. So what you're going to do is actually like put a heading that says freelance work or contract work, and then put the company names and what you did. But the total amount of time and like the dates that you were actually working those jobs can be looked at across the entire time of all those 10 jobs. Okay. And then, is it wise? Oh, sorry. Let me redo that. Is it a wise choice to change jobs in this current market? This is a really great question. I mean, there is like the talks of a recession and things like that. So I'm going to say it depends, and then I'm also going to explain. So it does depend on your industry, what you're doing, you know, if you're going to a small company, a large company, all sorts of things. But I do want to tell you a quick story about friends of mine that were at a company for 10 years. And when layoffs happened, they were the ones that got laid off because they were at the highest pay rate. And the people that had just joined the company were actually the ones that were able to stay and not get laid off. So if you're assuming that because you're the last person into the company that you're going to be the one laid off, don't let that be the reason that you stay in a job that you hate. So what I'm saying is, make the best decision for you in the moment, because you cannot predict anything. You can just do your best for what feels the best for you. So if you feel like you want to go out there and interview, go for it, but make sure you're asking the right questions, asking what the growth looks like. Is there growth in this opportunity? Because if not, then yes, you might be the one being let go if they really don't need you. If you're replacing someone at the company, that's probably a better sign. But if you are stepping into an opportunity that's a growth role, then maybe they might cut that. So just think about the opportunities and what makes the most sense internally for you and go with that. When you are new to a role or a company, when can you start to discuss pay increase? Okay, I actually have a tip on this on the Onomy website. We did like a career confidence in the workplace, and we actually talk about this 6-month strategy. If something isn't happening every 6 months, there's a problem. And I'm not saying you should be asking for a raise every 6 months. I mean, go for it if you can. But every 6 months, you should be learning something new or taking on a little bit more of a challenge, or maybe asking for that promotion or whatever the case. There's never a bad time. The question is do you have enough evidence or experience that you can bring to the table and say, hey, this is why I deserve a raise. Here are the projects that I've completed. Here's the success it's had on the company. I've actually saved the company money. I've actually made the company more money. And here's why I deserve X percentage of a raise. And it doesn't need to be a wild 20%. You could be asking for an extra dollar, on your hourly rate. You could be asking for 3 to 5%. But there's never a bad time. But to answer this specific question, you're stepping into this role, I would say between 6, 8, maybe 9 months is when you want to kind of sit down and be like, let's evaluate, where I came in, where I want to be, and then talk through like what it looks like to get that raise. And they might say like, you have to wait for your annual raise, but who cares? Like, you're in the same position you would have been in if you never asked at all. All right, that's the end of our career column for this week. Now let's get into the interview. Is this thing on? Anyways, hi Jenna.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming. If anyone's listening, you might have seen both of our faces pop up on your TikToks, one after the other in the corporate world. But how's drive-in? How's life? How's your day going?
Drive-in, it's Los Angeles, so
yeah,
made do, but it wasn't too terrible. I like to get myself out on the road sometimes just to challenge myself, like test my patience. I feel like it's a little learning experience sometimes.
Yeah.
So not
Are
bad.
you, because you work from home?
I do. I'm mostly from home. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I have these little cards here that has your bio on it. So Jenna is a 9-to-5 employee working in tech, a writer, a podcaster, and a social media personality sharing lots of relatable corporate humor. You've probably seen her. Her podcast and writing page is called Hush and Be Bold. Welcome to the podcast, Jenna.
Thank you very much. I love the intro.
Yeah, always. The intros are my favorite part. Okay, so tell us a little bit about, are you from LA or are you, where are you from?
I'm from Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay,
so the good old desert state.
Yeah.
And then I moved here about almost 5 years ago. So I feel like that's officially the amount of time where I can say I've been in LA.
Yeah, you can just be like, I'm from here.
Yeah, I'm from I don't want to say that, but yes, precisely.
What brought you out here?
Oh, the opportunity, the glitz, the glitz. No, I have always wanted to be in a big city.
Yeah.
So growing up, I always thought I was going to end up in New York City, but then I think over time, I just didn't know if I wanted that much of a lifestyle change. And so when I visited LA as I got older, I realized that it's not just a place for entertainment, which it is, obviously, and it's great for those things as well, but it's also just a really cool melting pot of culture, and there is like a lot of ambition, and that attracted me as well. So I finally just got up and I said, you know what, I'm going to get a job in Los Angeles. So after college, I landed a job that was in Pasadena, actually, and I've been here ever since.
Nice. I get a lot of questions from people that are living in one place and then they want to like move to New York or move to LA and they want to get a job there, but they always ask me like, how do I make that happen? Or like, do I put it on my resume that I'm already living out there? What did you do? Were you living in Phoenix when you applied to LA positions?
Yes, I was. And that is definitely a big challenge, especially I think prior to the pandemic, because employers do want the ease of having you on proximity in location. But with the right company and the right recruiter, they're not going to turn away a good candidate just because you're out of state or out of city. It's not the first time they've hired someone from somewhere else. So for me, I really made good connections with a recruiter.
An internal or an external recruiter?
Internal at this time, but funny enough, I had been a recruiter for a little bit while I was in college, so I did have experience with the whole external recruitment as well. So for this scenario, at least, it was an internal recruiter, and that really helped me get the position, even though I was out of state.
Yeah, because they can push for you with the hiring manager and whatnot. That's so cool. And then just so people know, like, what do you work in? I know you work in tech, but what do you do?
I am a saleswoman.
Nice.
So yeah, that is my 9 to 5.
Nice. That's awesome. So you actually like selling tech product. That's what like when people say like SaaS, right?
Yes. It's so funny when people say like, oh, I'm in technology or whatever it might be. It's like, what does that mean? Isn't everything technology in a sense? No, but for example, I do the full sales cycle to some extent. So I do a little bit of business development, I do account management, and everything in between.
Awesome. And you work from home. Do you guys have an office in LA? Like, do you have to ever go in or no?
Right now I'm just pretty much remote.
Cool. Awesome. And then so I started seeing your TikToks like when I started my TikTok. So like you were definitely before me. When did you start? And what was, I want to know the whole backstory of like,
oh goodness.
Okay. Cause I have so much to talk about on this because when I first started TikTok, like I had such a wall up with it. I was like, my friends, my family are going to see this. Like, how do I block people? Like, what do I do? And then all of a sudden I finally was just like, whatever, if they see it, they see it, you know?
Yeah. And that's part of the reason a lot of us don't do anything creative, especially if you do have a professional job. Like that's the worst case scenario, is having anybody see that you have a personality or interest outside of your job. So that was like that was honestly like a big preventer of me starting it in general. But during the pandemic, basically like many of us, I was officially bored and losing my mind. And for me, I've always had like an interest in creating content and tapping into my creative interests. Like I know I have a professional side. I mean, you don't see it now, but I do have a goofy side as well. So I've always had this like interest of just creating and being myself, like not necessarily online, but just doing something with whatever my personality is. And so during the pandemic, I just started posting random stuff. To be honest, like a couple videos were just, I don't know, maybe a trend, and they made no sense. The cuts were terrible. But then I started to take it a little bit seriously and realized there was actually power on this app. And slowly some people started following me, and I had a video that just took off. And from there, I kept going.
What was your first video?
Yeah.
It was something about being in the corporate world, like day 1 of being in corporate America, day 2 or I think it was like 2 months into being in corporate America. And every time like I change my voice and it gets like more cynical.
I remember that one.
Yeah. And so I think it was interesting because I was like, wow, people love to joke about corporate America.
Oh yeah, 100%. Have you got to know people in the space like corporate Natalie and like those types of people? Like, do you guys like collaborate and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I'm it's interesting because you start from being acquaintances, and I would say we're actually decent good friends now too. We talk all the time, we'll comment on each other's stuff, so it's a nice little interesting community that we've built.
That's so cool. And you met Raimee through TikTok, right?
I know. I think it was like Instagram. I was in love with Jenna does like a close friend story just for girls, and it's the best if you're
sign me up.
Get on that because it's so fun. And I got to know you through that, and I was just like, oh my God, I want to hang out with her.
Yeah. And we're friends. See?
Yeah.
Me and
amazing.
are friends.
TikTok,
exactly.
Instagram.
It's how it happens.
Yeah. No, and it's like for me too, it's like these are my colleagues. Like the people I've met online, I'm like, you do the same thing I do. We can vent about the same things. Like that's what creates that connection. And I'm like, you get what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Like it makes it so nice.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what have you found is like the hardest part about creating on social media for like everyone to see?
that you're creating on social media for everyone to see.
Yeah.
Part of me has this mindset where it doesn't really matter. Like, again, I am always doing my creative outlets for me. I used to write for absolutely no one, so I had a secret blog that nobody knew about, and I would just post all the time, and that was literally 0 views. So I think I have this known foundation that as long as I'm happy, I'm feeling fulfilled, and it's something that I want to do, that matters most of all. But then I'm also human, and the thought of people just seeing me and judging me and talking behind me that I have no say in is absolutely terrifying. And I do have like a sensitive soul, so that just it does kind of freak me out a little bit that I have no control or I have no control over the perception of how people want to view me and see me. But
have you dealt with like the crazy hate comments and things like that? I mean, I know from my perspective, just because I'm giving advice, right? So not everyone's going to agree with the advice that I'm giving. Therefore, they're going to say like, you are dumb. You are ugly. They really like to hit hard with that one.
Dude, the ones that obviously aren't even about your video.
Yeah, they have to go after looks. Yeah. But yeah, and honestly, I've cried over comments before. Like, it happens, and I'm definitely like growing thicker skin. But yeah, have you had to deal with like that type of stuff or anything like that?
Yes. I would say luckily, because maybe it's just the audience being a professional audience for the most part, I would say it's a little bit more calm, but I've also just gotten more used to it. The more you do something, the more you grow that thick skin and you learn to not look into it. There's also this quote, I don't know who said it, but it's like, you're never going to take advice from people that are doing less than you.
Right.
So if somebody's telling me this and they're not putting themselves out on social media, then what am I supposed to do with that?
Why?
I don't need to read into what you're saying about me. You're just a person that's reflecting or projecting onto me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'll get a comment. I like look at it for 30 minutes and I'm like, is that what everyone thinks of me?
Right.
But,
I know. I actually, very similar to what you just said, I always say to like my friends and people that ask for advice if they want any, I'm just like, if you wouldn't trade places with that person, why are you listening to what they're saying?
Yeah.
And that's really like the ultimate. I always have to like remind myself of that. I'm like, well, I don't want your job or like what you're doing. So,
exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so did you start the Instagram app? Did you start on TikTok and then go to Instagram? Okay.
I started primarily on TikTok, and then jumping to Instagram was actually a weird challenge for me, because also at the time it was right when Reels was just picking up, believe it or not. So it was primarily TikTok, and then Instagram was only videos, which I think we were all super hesitant when Reels started regardless. We're like, what the heck is Instagram doing? But now it's pretty much the main, or not the main, but a big portion of the platform. And so then I wanted to grow my audience, and I wanted to just reach more people. So I was so nervous about starting on Reels. I had actually texted some of my friends. I said, would I be weird if I started posting some things on Reels? Which I dislike that looking back now, because at the end of the day, that's what made me happy, and it's not that big of a deal, and I should have just gone for it anyways. But sometimes you need that little bit of confirmation that you should just do it.
Right.
So I just started doing it, and I haven't looked back, and that person who was so freaked out about posting what I'm already posting on TikTok on Reels, that's like alarming to me, because I would not be scared to do that now.
Did you use the same, did you start a whole new Instagram, or did you just use your personal?
I used my personal.
That you had already had?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And then with Hush and Be Bold, so I know I read some of the writing. It's so good, by the way. I love
thank
it.
you.
Yeah. How did you get into writing? Like, it's always been probably like a passion project for you, right? And then like it's built from there. But like, what do you like to write about? Like, kind of give us more into that. Yeah.
So I feel like the writing portion of me is like my little baby, because it's still so new, but I've also been doing it for such a long time. So I would say I began writing right at the beginning of college. And at first it was purely creativity writing. So I would just somewhat write about, I would just journal, but kind of make it a really flowing poetry style of writing. Sometimes I would write short stories, more fiction based. And then I remember I would start reading articles from about like college experiences. And I'm like, wow, I kind of want to try doing that. How are these girls or boys writing for these platforms? I want to do that. And so what I did is I got all of my best work. I found a whole bunch of different online publication sites. I applied for a couple on the spot, which I never heard back from, and I got rejections, I think. And then there was one platform called the Odyssey, which like was very college based. I am very sure if you went to university in America, you probably have read one of these blogs. And I applied and I got the position. So I was an intern for this company, the Odyssey. And every week I would write, I think it was like 1 to 2 articles. And that was like my first little bit of confidence, like, oh, shoot, I can write. Like all it took was just trying.
Yeah.
And now I'm a writer.
Right.
And so then from there, like I never really took it that seriously in college. I began to, again, just post my stuff. I would send it out to a couple different publications here and there for like creativity. And then it wasn't until even, I think it was 2020, it was the first time I got paid for my writing, which was so cool.
Nice.
I thought that was like the most.
Was it for a different publication?
Yeah, it was for a startup company. And so I did some blog educational posts for them, and I got paid for doing something that I love. And I know that I hadn't even scratched the surface of what I could really do with my writing. So that's kind of the backstory of how I got started. It was just a little bit of having an interest and trying it over and over again. But today I would say like it's still something I'm fully exploring and expanding upon. So I do it as frequently and as often as I can, and I have some exciting things in the works too that I want to work on. But I love writing.
Do you see it as like you want to write a book one day? Do you see it as like you love like the short story format? I mean, I know on like your Instagram, it feels like to me like it's refreshing to read. Like when I read it, I'm like, oh, that made me feel good. Like that's what I get from it personally. But yeah, what do you want people to get from your writing?
That for one, I feel like I do have a very emotional side to myself, and so it's always been a lot easier for me to put that into words. I find it just comes really natural to me, and I love just expressing that, and then maybe having one person also be like, wow, that's exactly what I needed to hear today. Because I get that all the time too. I'll be scrolling through social media and I'll read a little blurb and I'm like, holy crap, how did they know that I'm also struggling with that too? I needed to read that. And so I find I really resonate with that right now, that I love to have those smaller short form or long form as well, in more of an essay form that people can just read, and it gives them that tiny little boost of, oh yeah, okay, everything's gonna be all right. Like I'm not an actual failure or whatever, or whatever you're thinking of yourself. But
Right. No, we don't think that over here.
No, I've never had bad thoughts about myself.
No, I always laugh. The second that Raimee said like that you were gonna come on, I'm like, the first thing that popped in my head was the emotional support sandwich.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Such a thing. Sprouts, right?
Such a thing.
Yes, from Sprouts.
I need to try
Sprouts.
that on my next
Yeah.
flight. I've been wanting to.
I've got it down to a science. I go to Sprouts either the night before I travel or the morning of, if it's before a 2 p.m. flight. I always go in the morning. I'm giving away all my secrets. So now it's going to be gone.
No,
girls
where to
don't
find
make
you.
No, I go at 10 a.m. If you go a little bit later, you're going to get the lunch crowd. And the lunch crowd can be a long line. And no disrespect to the Sprouts workers. They are the most hardworking, beautiful people I've ever met in my entire life. But they do like to take their sweet time on the sandwiches.
It's made with love.
It's made with love. It's so
why
great.
it's the
That's why
emotional
it's my
support.
emotional support sandwich. Yeah, I could go on for days and days about my emotional support sandwich. That's like, there's no real relevance other than that.
Do you get it any other time but you fly? Like, do you get it all the time, or is it just when you fly?
Yes, but then it's no longer an emotional support sandwich. It's just my
sandwich.
It's just my Sprouts sandwich. And there's a specific time when it's my emotional support sandwich.
And now you have to tell us the order.
Okay. Well, it's nothing revolutionary, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Not everything needs to be. Okay, I usually get sourdough bread,
That's
best.
already
mustard, and mayo. Here's the key with the lettuce. You have to take it off of the sandwich once you get home, only because you don't want it to get soggy. Turkey.
huge tip.
It's a huge tip. It really is. And you don't have to do it, but it will improve the overall experience of eating.
I need a crunch.
Said. Exactly. And then just turkey and like Jack or Swiss cheese. That's all you need.
Okay.
Sometimes it's all you need.
When you make your own sandwiches, do you cut sideways or diagonal?
Oh, like,
Did I get you with that one?
I'm not too controversial on that. Like
Oh.
on random things like that, I don't have an opinion.
I'll just
whatever
sling the
my
knife
hand
anyway.
does. It's just like, okay, it's diagonal.
Sometimes I
or-
rip it in half.
Yeah, sometimes like one, like a third.
Darcy
yeah,
needs to die.
yeah, like in just small little triangles, like 10 triangles. I'm kidding. No, I'm not a psychopath.
10 triangles.
No.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, back to TikTok. No. I do have a question about this though. Where people ask me this and I'm like, I don't know, but let's see if you have an answer.
Yeah.
Where do you want to take your TikTok social media presence? Like, do you have goals and kind of plans for, because I'm sure you've done like ads and stuff at this point, and do you enjoy that stuff? Like, yeah, where do you see it going?
It's a good question, and it's one that I can't fully answer yet. And I'm okay with not having that answer, only because I think people see things as black and white, especially when it's in the entrepreneurial, dipping your toes in that realm, and then having a full-time professional job. I am okay with doing both right now. I want to do both. And a lot of times I see people going from one or the other, and then it makes me almost panic in a way where I think, do I have to give up one or the other? Do I have to just pick and decide and then go all out and then be in this place where I don't know what I really want? And for some people, yes. For some people, you do need to go into one bucket, or maybe one thing makes you a little bit more happier than the other. But for me right now, I like doing both. I like having my creative interest being explored. I like making a little bit of side money here and there. And I love my corporate job.
Yeah.
I like to work, and there's a lot of fulfilling things that I get from it. I grow just as a person, and I get these lessons and whatnot. So I'm really just dipping into the aspect of being able to do both, and not necessarily putting myself in a box of having to decide between one or the other. Maybe that will change this year. Maybe that will change next year. But for today, I'm all.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that. It took me a while to really jump fully in it. And I will say, like, even with me, I didn't go onto social media for social media. I went because I actually felt like I had a lot of things that could help others, and I let it organically grow into what it is today. I had no idea that I was going to actually be able to do like ads or influencing, that type of thing, because I approached it from like a career coaching standpoint. And then when my following grew, and it's like, I have these really cool companies that could use me as a vessel to, and I want to talk about the companies. They're so cool. So I'm like, okay, this is awesome. But I think when things just grow organically, like on what you're doing, like, I mean, take Raimee, for example. She's like, loves to travel and like loves doing this stuff. And I'm like, girl, get out there, like do it. Like, and now like it's blown up. So I love it.
Yeah, it took me a while to do it.
Nothing worthwhile is easy.
Yeah. Okay.
True that.
I have a fun little thing for us. It's not really a game or anything. It's just, I do this thing called the career column, and people will send in stories about their careers, like horrible bosses or like experiences or things like that. So because you're, the corporate world, I want to get your take, or just, I want you to hear these stories.
I'm so
because
interested. I'm so intrigued.
It is absolutely wild. Okay. I have 2 stories for you today. Okay. Here we go. I applied for a job internally to switch divisions. I had a lot of recommendations and I felt like I was going to get it. My direct boss called me into her office and told me, hey, you're not going to get the job because I was told by the head of the new department you applied to that you were going to be a distraction to the men on the sales team. Yep. So I filed a complaint with HR, and there was a meeting between me, my boss, and that director that apparently said that. I told everyone what happened, and my direct boss didn't say anything in the meeting, didn't back me up. And after we left the meeting, she said, you understand I can't risk my own job for this. So she's like, I still don't know if he ever actually said it. I don't know what happened, but I didn't get the job.
I don't have words right now. That just erupts something so upsetting in my system. That makes me so upset.
The amount of times I've heard, to me, but to also friends of mine, like, you'll be a distraction, or don't wear that, or don't. And I know I've seen it on your Instagram too. It's like, I'm going to be who I am if I wear my hair up, hair down.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? Like,
if my appearance takes away from you being able to do your job, that is not a me problem. That is a you problem.
It really takes me back to middle school when I had to put my hands down in the shorts.
Yes.
And I'm like,
you couldn't wear spaghetti straps. It's like,
gosh, God
okay,
forbid
it's
my
not our
shoulders.
fault. Control the men.
yeah. Like, close your eyes. Sorry, my collarbones are so sexy.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad they're covered up now. Everyone be chill.
I'm in the extra large sweater because I was so worried about this story. Okay. If you thought that was bad.
No.
No
more.
I have one more.
Already.
Okay. My first full-time job I had was a secretary for a vending machine company. It was just the owner, the VP, and then 4 technicians, and then me. So the VP started getting pretty flirty with me. And one day I was walking up the stairs to my office, which was just a loft at the top of the warehouse. And he slapped my ass so hard, I had a handprint on my butt.
Oh.
Yeah. I told the owner, and he said, well, he's our only sales guy, so I can't let him go. So what ended up happening is the owner gave me a $2 an hour raise. And when he gave me my new pay stub, he wrote on there and circled, thank you, with an exclamation point.
That is disgusting.
Basically.
Horrible. Like they shouldn't. That is so inappropriate on so many levels.
So bad.
She did not ask for that.
No.
And that's so uncomfortable. In what world do you just think that's acceptable?
She told me this over like a voice note, like, through Instagram,
Yeah.
and I'm listening, and my jaw was literally on the floor, and I'm like, this cannot.
I honestly feel like you could sue.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this was so long ago, right? And she's like, I'm so far past it at this point, which, again, doesn't make it right by any means. But, yeah, she was like, I didn't know what to do. I was young. I was, and it's like,
Yeah. You don't know at the time, like you're just so taken back. You don't have that voice to stand up for yourself and
Right.
call out that was really inappropropriate. Don't ever disrespect me like that again.
Right.
And I will be telling HR about your actions.
yeah, well, they didn't have an HR team,
Or-
obviously.
Oh, well, that's a good point.
But that's the thing. She did what she was supposed to do. She went to the owner, told, and it's like,
I know.
what are you gonna do in that situation? She was like, I needed a job, so like she stayed and until she found a new
Yeah.
job. But I mean,
believe in karma in those cases. I believe, unfortunately, that man is probably going to do it again.
Yeah.
He will
And
get caught.
at some point, they're going to get caught and they're going to look so dumb and just disgusting, and their true colors will come out. Disrespecting people never puts you on top.
No, and
Ugh.
I'm so thankful for like the presence of like the corporate world that social media has, now
Yeah.
because like we've learned, and I think it's like showing what's going on so much more, and things are less hush hush, and I'm just so happy about that. Like, and still to this day, anytime I post anything that's a little bit controversial or like things that have happened to me, like people go crazy. They're like, I can, but like not in a good way. They're like, I can't
Really?
believe like you're just lying. You're trying to get views that didn't actually happen to you. And I'm like, wow, like this
Because
is
it's that absurd. It
Yeah.
seems fake. You're like, how does this happen? It happens.
And that's like
Freaked
why
out.
you need to continue to use your voice when you can and talk about these experiences. Talk to the other woman that you can trust, or even, actually talk to the men and be like, yeah, this really happened. Hello, this is,
Yeah.
help us.
I know. Yeah.
Help.
Yeah. No, apparently you just want to comment.
Ugh.
And, yeah. So I block a lot of people. Let's just say that.
Yeah, as you should. That's why it's there.
Right.
It's
No,
fine.
totally. So yeah, I'm going to put these cards away because I can't even read any more of those.
Oh my goodness.
So
Those are,
So
my heart
bad.
rate is probably just through the roof.
What are you doing this weekend? What do you got going on?
Well, tonight I'm going to Benihana.
Nice.
What?
I am so
Flashback.
excited.
I love
know.
Benihana.
So that's like my big event for the weekend.
Are you going to try and catch shrimp? And that's the one where they like throw the shrimp, right?
I'm terrified of that. So
Really? I don't want to embarrass myself.
No, exactly. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say, no, my friend I think wants to catch
Right.
the shrimp or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, it's gonna be an experience.
Nice.
I'm
Are
really
you going with like a
looking
big
forward
group or?
to it. Just two of my best friends.
Yeah.
We're gonna go, and then we're not doing, or we're attempting to do dry January.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's just gonna be vibes.
Nice,
All
that's
vibes
awesome.
and good food.
Speaking of January, do you set like intentions, or do you have like goals or things that you kind of want? Like, do you want to share a little bit of that?
Yes, I have such an interesting view on it. So I like to think of it not necessarily as new goals, but progressing on what you already are doing. So obviously I have like some certain specific things that I've set for myself. So I like to set really small goals. So I like to set weekly goals. I like to set monthly goals. So for me, it wasn't too different from, let's say, December 1st between January 1st. I pretty much on a weekly basis like set small little, like whether it's I want to work out this many times, I want to write this many pages, I want to read this many books, or whatever it might be.
Right.
So I like to do that because for me, if I set something like way too far-fetched, if I want to be like, I want to gain X amount of followers or do something, I don't know, if I want to like lose 5 pounds, like things like that,
Right.
it becomes like much more constricting for me.
Yeah.
So I like to set little things that I can do during the week to win. And then on the backside, I definitely have larger goals that I am working towards, but I break those down into small goals on a weekly basis.
Yeah, you
that
don't want to put
will
that
help me get there.
pressure on
Yeah.
yourself to.
And
Yeah, you have
I also,
to do
I don't know about
something.
you, but I like the what's it called? The
The
rush
process or
the
the-
rush of the excitement of the new year too. So I try to ride on that too as much as I can. I don't know.
do too.
Are you
I
the
love
same
it.
way?
I saw so many posts about like, it's so lame, like new year, like new you, blah blah blah. And I'm like, if you like it, like I actually post this on my Instagram. I'm like, if
Yeah.
it makes you happy and you get like excitement out of a new year, like live in that. Like
Yeah,
why
why
not?
not?
Like why is someone trying to take that away from you? Like everyone was asking me what I did. I literally had my tarot reading and everything, and I had like a
Ooh.
full seance and like candles, and I had my
Incredible.
boyfriend in there. And I was like, did our whole clarity spread for every single month of the new year. Or I was just all into it. So
Exactly.
what I
Like there's
love.
no right or wrong way
Yeah.
to do it. I
Yeah.
mean, and the wrong way is just be a bum and get mad about everybody else having fun and good
Yeah.
time. So that's the only wrong way. I would say.
Okay, so I just been hearing obviously all amazing things about you. I need to know like what's something that you do that is just terrible, like reality TV, or like what's your vice?
Oh, reality
Is it?
television.
Yeah.
But actually, oh my God, this is like my interview self and me. But I would say reality TV isn't so much of a weakness because why do I have to turn everything into a lesson?
No, keep
But
going.
I will say, like, I learn a lot about people and their relationships and how they act from watching reality television. I
Yeah.
swear.
And what to avoid.
Yes, exactly. Like
What to
I feel like
avoid.
I've learned so much on people's personalities and how to deal with difficult people from just watching a crap ton of reality television.
What's your favorite?
I love Real Housewives.
Okay.
I love Love Island UK.
Are you watching Love Island Australia right now?
No, is it?
Oh.
Or should I be?
I like it. I think
Yeah.
UK is a little bit better, but yeah.
Okay.
I watch everything though.
might.
Like
Me
I
too.
am. Yeah.
I
Are you
love it.
my real like Salt Lake City is my number one.
I love Salt Lake City.
Oh man,
my
we could
gosh.
talk for hours.
I-
But
yeah, there's some big news that just came out today, actually, but we didn't.
Yeah, we
get
don't-
into it.
Wasn't her sentencing today?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
6.5 years.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And
And,
again-
then Lisa Rinna like quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. This is
It,
just
people, they're like, I don't like it. I've fully embraced that I love reality television.
Same.
And even people like sometimes talk about The Bachelor. They're like, it's gotten so bad. I love it.
I love it too. I watch
don't
every
care.
second of it.
Me too. I eat it up. Yeah, I know it's no movie with Tom Cruise
Yeah.
or something, you know?
I feel like
It's no James Cameron movie.
I devour enough personal development
Yeah,
that I'm allowed to watch reality
No,
TV.
exactly.
Like, give me that.
I want
Give
to
me that.
watch people just be terrible on
Yeah.
television.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
it.
Well, we can end with that.
Perfect.
Tell people where they can find you on all the things.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming on.
Of course. So I have 2 social media accounts, just Jenna Hushka, Hushka, and then Hush and Be Bold on Instagram.
Perfect. Cool. And I'm sure you guys already know who she is. But thank you again for coming on.
Thanks,
and have so
Jenna.
much fun at Benihana's.
I will. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to That Onomy podcast. Onomy is a creator-led educational platform that teaches you the things you wished you learned in school so you can thrive in adulthood. Onomy lessons are completely free and they're taught by some of your favorite creators from around the internet. Head to onomy.co to start learning about things like budgeting, investing, taxes, how to thrive in your relationships, how to find your dream job, and so much more. That's onomy.co, onomy.co. See you there.